All right. Hey, everyone, and welcome. So, if you're in bee farm, you know you're going to be dealing with some pretty delicate stuff. Ingredients that just can't take the heat. So, how in the world do you concentrate them? Well, today we're diving deep into one of the most ingenious solutions out there, the climbing film evaporator. Let's kick things off with a huge problem you'll face in the real world. You've got a life-saving antibiotic, but it's in a dilute solution. You need to get that water out to make it stable and potent. The catch? You heat it up too much, and poof, the medicine is ruined. So what do? This is the exact puzzle that this piece of equipment was built to solve. So here's our game plan. First, we'll really nail down that core problem. Then, we'll get into the physics behind it all, the climbing film principle. After that, we'll take the machine apart, piece by piece, then watch it run. And finally, we'll give it a final scorecard, the good, the bad, and where you'll see it used. Okay, so this idea of heat sensitivity is absolutely central. Many of the most important things in pharmacy, we're talking vitamins, antibiotics, proteins, they're incredibly fragile. They just can't handle being hot for too long. If you try to just boil the water off like you would with salt water, you'd end up destroying the very thing you're trying to save. So old school methods, they're totally off the table. We need a much smarter, much gentler approach. And that smarter approach, it all comes down to this one really cool, really elegant bit of physics. The climbing film principle. Seriously, if you get this one idea, the rest of the machine is going to click into place perfectly. This is the secret sauce. The whole concept is called film evaporation. So instead of trying to heat a giant vat of liquid, you spread it out into a super thin film on a hot surface. It's all about maximizing surface area. This thin layer gets hit with heat, and at the same time, the vapor that's created starts pushing things along. It's that 1-2 punch of heat and vapor pressure that makes it work so incredibly well. So, how does a film climb? This is the brilliant part. Picture this. You've got liquid at the bottom of a long, hot vertical tube. As it heats up, little vapor bubbles start to form. Now, those bubbles expand like crazy, and they have nowhere to go but up. As they rush upwards, they literally drag the liquid with them, smearing it into a super thin film all along the inside walls of the tube. Think about it. A puddle on the ground evaporates way faster than the same amount of water in a tall glass, right? It's the same idea. By creating this massive surface area, you can flash off the water incredibly fast without ever having to cook the whole batch for a long time. It's just bam, and it's done. Okay, now that we've got the principle down, let's pop the hood and look at the machine itself. We're going to break down the anatomy of this thing. From a bird's eye view, it's actually pretty straightforward. You've got your vertical tubes where the magic happens, a steam jacket to provide the heat, an inlet for the raw solution, a separator up top, and then 2 exits, one for the waste vapor and one for your precious final product. Let's zero in on the 2 most important sections. The absolute heart of this machine is the tube bundle. Just imagine a bunch of really long, tall metal straws packed together. Now wrap that whole bundle in a bigger shell. That outer shell is the steam jacket. You pump hot steam in there, which heats the outside of all those tubes, and that's what heats the liquid flowing inside. This is the birthplace of the climbing film. So once that frothy mix of concentrated liquid and vapor shoots up to the top of the tubes, it bursts into this big open space called the separator. And its job is simple but absolutely critical. It lets the light water vapor get sucked away while the heavier, valuable liquid product drops down to be collected. Think of it as the final sorting hat. All right, so we know the principle, we know the parts. Let's put it all together. It's time to see this thing in motion, from start to glorious finish. The whole thing is a beautiful, continuous flow. First, your dilute solution gets pumped into the bottom of those tubes. The steam jacket instantly starts heating it. Right away, vapor bubbles form and start racing up, creating that all-important climbing film. As that film zips up the tubes, a journey that takes just a few seconds, water evaporates like crazy, making the solution thicker and more concentrated. Then at the top, the whole mixture flies into the separator. The vapor is pulled out the top, and your finished concentrated product is collected from the bottom. It's a fast, non-stop, and really elegant cycle. So we know how it works, but the real question is, how well does it work? And where are you actually going to see one of these in the field? Let's get to the final scorecard. Okay, the pros are pretty huge. First, it's super efficient. You get a ton of evaporation done in a pretty compact machine. But the real MVP is the short residence time. Because the liquid is only touching the hot surface for a few seconds, it's perfect for protecting those delicate, heat-sensitive products. Plus, it can run 24/7, and that constant upward rush of the film actually helps scrub the tubes clean, preventing gunk from building up and burning on. But, of course, it's not a silver bullet. This is a complex piece of kit, so it's expensive to install and maintain. It also doesn't work well with really thick, syrupy liquids. It's just too hard for that film to climb. You also need a really skilled operator to keep it dialed in perfectly. And while it kind of self-cleans, when you do have to do a deep clean on those super long, narrow tubes, yeah, it can be a major headache. So, where does this all matter to you? Well, you'll see these everywhere in the pharma world. They are the go-to choice for concentrating those antibiotics and vitamins we've been talking about. They're also used for things like making herbal extracts like glycyrrhizin from licorice root, producing huge batches of drug solutions, and whipping up concentrated syrups and other liquid medicines. And that really boils it all down to the one thing you have to remember. The climbing film evaporator's almost magical ability to quickly and gently handle things that can't take the heat makes it an absolutely indispensable tool in the pharmaceutical industry. So, I'll leave you with this to chew on. We know the design is brilliant, but it has its downsides, right? Costs and cleaning are big ones. So, as the next generation of pharmacists and engineers, what's next? What kind of innovations could you imagine that would make this even better? How could you make it cheaper, easier to clean, or even more efficient for the medicines of the future? That's something to think about.